Got the rear end put in. I need to tighten the nuts on the U-bolts, but I got it pretty much run in there. Let's see, I was going to put the cover on and then I forgot I got to paint the bow tie in the middle orange, so I need to get that done. So needing to paint the bow tie in the center of the rear end cover, I say orange, it's copper, but anyway, I wanted to paint this alternator case copper as well, so I've decided I'm going to go ahead and bust this alternator apart. It's a remanufactured alternator. It's not a one wire or anything, but anyway, Steve bought the billet twisted fan and pulley combo, I think from Summit, I don't remember. But anyway, I'd put this on and I had it on the car. It just, you know, the alternator looks a little bit plain because, you know, it's just a cast aluminum housing on there with this aluminum stuff, and it just looks a little plain. So I'm going to go ahead and take the alternator completely apart, you know, take the case halves. I'm going to Scotch-Brite them real good, and then of course I'll have to remove the decals, and then I'm going to put some etching primer on there, and then that will get scuffed, and then when I get all the copper paint mixed up to paint the engine and all this other stuff, this will get painted. So another thing I've decided to do is this pulley nose cover screws on with 3 screws, and it's, and you can see the seam right here where the pulley is separate from the nose cover. So what I'm going to do is mask off that whole outer edge, but I'm going to paint the inside. Once this pulley nose cover comes off, I'm going to paint the whole inside of that the copper. So when the pulley nose cover goes back on, you'll see copper in through all these holes, and I think it'll just be kind of a neat little feature. He's got his inner fenders are painted copper, the core support and all that stuff, and the engine will be painted copper. That's the style he wants, so I thought this would kind of complement it a little bit. I think it'll look really cool. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna bust this thing apart. Alright, I had to get the camera on the tripod. Alright, so I removed the pulley nose cover with the 3 Phillips screws. I'll put it down here in this bag with the other stuff. So now I'm going to take the nut off of the pulley. Okay. These are usually 5/16 on the back here. These GM SI10 and 12 alternators, they're really simple to take apart and stuff and paint the case if you want to. And a lot of people just paint it all together and just mask stuff off, but I'm not doing that. There's quite a bit of detail you can put into an alternator to make it look really nice, especially to tailor it to fit to the car. Get it apart here. Man, it ain't wanting to That thing is tight. Always check these where those brushes ride on this part. I've seen these where they're chewed out real deep. I mean, this is a reman, but well, there's a dirt dauber nest inside of it. Good thing we took it apart. I'll go ahead and pull the springs out so I don't lose them. There's two springs that hold the brushes in. All right. Got to take apart. These are usually, I believe, 11/32 on these. Yep. Quarter-inch. Seven. I got that one mislabeled. I had those two mixed up in the toolbox. Let's see here. These things are pretty easy to rebuild. You can get a kit off of eBay for around 30 bucks. Alternators used to be really inexpensive, like for a reman from the parts store, but they went up pretty high, and so the last couple I've done, I've just rebuilt them. Pull it all out together there. Just like that. Now I need... Okay, so you can kind of see the dirt dauber nest in there, and it's got a lot of dirt around it where that bearing's open now. So I'm going to go in there and wipe this out real good, and then I'll pack just wadded up little pieces of paper towel, and I'll pack that down in there to basically block it off from any further dirt and dust and overspray. And then upon reassembly after it's painted, I always take a little bit of wheel bearing grease and put down inside that bearing there. So it's just a needle bearing set up in there. But anyway, this alternator I mean, you can tell it's reman, it's really clean. A little yellowed looking, but anyway, so I'll Scotch-Brite this down real nice and you know, wipe it down and tack it off, and then this will get painted copper along with this piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this cover plate here, but the bearing's pressed in there and I don't really want to remove it, so I'll just mask it off. I mean, I could stick a socket in there and knock that out, but there's really no need. But I do want to make sure I have good paint coverage all inside this edge, and this washer actually hangs out. You can see the gold cad coating on it hanging off the side here, so that's why I'm going to remove it. That is not that size, that's this size. I like this detail stuff like this. This is really, when you take your car to a show, even if you take it to a cruise-in or something and you open the hood on it, this little stuff like this makes a world of difference. It just kind of, you know, separates it and makes it your own car. But, you know, there's not many people that would take the time to take their, you know, their new alternator apart to redo this, or, you know, paint it and stuff. But it does need to be epoxied or etch primed, because that aluminum, that paint will not stick like a regular primer. I mean, it'll go on there and it'll work for a little bit, but it's most likely going to let go over time. Alternators get pretty hot, so anyway, this will look fantastic. He'll love it. I know he will. So I'm basically going to mask off this outer ring edge right here, and I'm just going to paint this inner insert here, the copper. That'll look really nice in there. And then when the speed hold nose cover goes on there, you'll see copper through it. And I think it'll look really cool. You know, this is not really that high a polish on here, which I'm kind of amazed. It's more of like a brushed finish look. Makes me wonder. It looks like it's got an anodized clear coat on it, so I wouldn't be able to polish this without removing that coating. I might try to rub a little bit of Mother's on here to see if I can get a shine out of it. I mean, it'd be awesome if I could, you know what I mean? A little bit of polish goes a long ways. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much the alternator taken apart there. I mean, they're really simple to mess with, but that's pretty much it. So I also have to paint the little bow tie and the rear end cover, and the copper, and then also a used Bel Air dash script. I have to paint it copper. It's going to be on the front cover that I made to go on the front of the chassis. It'll have the Bel Air logo right there, and I'm going to paint it the copper color. So it'll look good when it's done. It'll be a nice detail. I think he'll love it. Alright, I got my custom mixing table for paint set up out here, which is 2 cinder blocks. Actually, it's just where I set them, and I just walked out here this morning and started using them. So I got his paint out. This is the paint that came with the car. This is, I guess, extra paint. You can't even make the label out anymore, which kind of sucks. I was afraid we was going to have to have some more paint mixed, because I have to paint the whole engine. But anyway, when I took the lid off, the paint was pretty syruped out. It was pretty dried up. I mean, it wasn't really dried out. It was just real thick syrup. So I ended up putting some base set in here. Probably a full pint is what I had, I think, in a can, what was left. So I poured base set in there and mixed it up, because this is base coat. But anyway, it thinned it out a little bit, and then this you mix 50-50 with urethane reducer. So I've got a little bit mixed up in my cup here, and you know, it didn't take very much. So half of that is paint, and then the other half is reducer, so there's really not much paint I'm using. I'm hoping that paint's not transparent. Sometimes those coppers and oranges and stuff have a tendency to be a little bit transparent, so I'll have to put on more coats. But anyway, I've got the Bel Air script out here. This one was one that I had painted blue a long time ago, and it's base coat clear coated. So I went in and Scotch-Brited it. And I also Scotch-Brited the inside of the bow tie here on the rear end cover. And I've got his stuff here, which I just sprayed about a half hour ago with some etching primer. This is the alternator case halves. That is the pulley. And then this is the windings out of the center of the alternator. I'm not going to paint this copper. I'm going to leave it black. It'll look kind of nice, you know, breaking those two cases apart. It goes right in the middle, and you see just a little bit of that raised strip of that around that. So it'll have a little break in it, which I think will look kind of nice. But anyway, the alternator will be copper pearl, and when the aluminum pulley nose cover goes on for this alternator pulley, you'll see the copper through the holes, and I think that'll be another neat little feature. But I'm just kind of going off the way his engine compartment's set up. It's got a lot of copper under there. The core support, the inner fenders, everything's painted copper. So this will just kind of tie in a little bit more. Obviously, I don't want to go over the top, but he wants to paint his engine copper, so that's what we're going to do. But definitely got plenty of paint left. So that's the plan. I am going to be painting all this stuff copper, but it's a little on the chilly side today. It's not quite 50 yet. It's probably going to be here in a few more minutes, but I think it's supposed to be 55 or 56 today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all this stuff base coated, and then I'm going to bring the transmission out here and put it on this furniture dolly here. I'm going to pull that board out a little bit further, but I'm going to set it down on there, and I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, Scotch-Brite it a little bit, wipe it down, and I've got it's an old gallon of paint I've had for probably 20 or 25 years. It's called Platinum Pearl, and it's a base coat, and it was a whole gallon, and I usually paint my transmissions with that because it's kind of going off the original, aluminum color that a transmission would be if it's an aluminum case transmission. Alright, I did 2 coats of clear over the platinum pearl on the transmission. So that looks really, really nice. I'm glad I went through and removed those fuzzy stickers, remnants that was up there, because you're going to see quite a bit of that bell housing up there when that hood's up. Now this color is called platinum pearl. It just kind of looks like a factory transmission color almost. Sitting here looking at it and it's super shiny, but if the sunlight's on it, it has all kinds of different colors of pearl in it. It looks freaking awesome. I have painted a bunch of transmissions with it. I just love that color. But if he's got the car at an outdoor car show and the hood's up and the sun's on that side of it, it's really going to pop. You'll be able to see a little bit of that bell housing up against that copper engine, because the engine's going to be the same color, this body color here. So all this stuff got 2 coats as well, and of clear, and it looks pretty damn nice. Now I didn't decast this like on my hardtop. I decasted it completely, smoothed the casting out smooth, and then primered it and painted it. I didn't do that to this one. It had taken too much time, but it still looks really nice. And these 700 R4s, these are known for this rough cast on this back here. It looks almost like sand pebbles or something on it, but that's just the casting of a 700 R4. I've got the same transmission in my hardtop. And my hardtop, I decasted the whole transmission and painted it, so it looks really nice. But again, on Steve's car, you're not really going to see any of this. I mean, you don't really see it on my car either, but I did it. But from what you will see, it's going to look freaking phenomenal. But that is pretty much a wrap. That's a lot of stuff painted there finally, and now I can start assembling stuff. I mean, at this point, like tomorrow, I can bolt the rear end cover on and go ahead and put gear oil in it. I can get all the brake stuff on in the back, get the drums adjusted and all that kind of stuff, get the brake lines built back there. I think he told me the coil springs are going to be here Friday, so yeah, it's probably going to end up being next Monday before I bolt the front suspension together, but it's going to look good, man. It's going to look really good. I was going to wait and clear coat all this stuff tomorrow, but it actually warmed up quite a bit today, so I let it all set about an hour, and I went ahead and shot it. And it's pretty late in the evening now, so I'm going to go ahead and get my mess cleaned up, and then I am done. That is more stuff painted and more stuff knocked off the list. So thanks for watching.